Hey y'all, it is Shavonna, your future physician. You will soon know around the world. If it is your first time, welcome. And if you are coming back, welcome back. I know I haven't been on in almost 2 months, but I had to finish my semester strong. The priority is getting out of my semesters and doing what I'm supposed to do. Even though I already knew that I was going to pass my semester because I was calculating my grade. There's always some sort of anxiety behind it because of what you've dealt with before. So, by the grace of God, I passed my semester. Today, I'm doing a requested video about questions to ask during the interview season. And I know right now a lot of people may be submitting their applications for verification to start the process of writing the essays that they may need for the different schools that they may be applying to. But once you get those applications completed, around, I believe, October, maybe September to December is interview season. So I wanted to create a video so that you guys can get maybe some insight on some of the questions that I asked and why I asked them, because that was the problem. I didn't know why I asked the questions that needed to be asked. I looked up a few cute questions online, like what to ask during interview season, but I had no understanding as to why I was asking those questions. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have help. I didn't have somebody to tell me, hey, this is what you need to do. For one, even if I had a coach back then, I feel like I still wouldn't even know why I was asking the question because I didn't have the experience that I have now. So it would have been great. Oh, okay, cool. I'm asking these questions because I seen them online. Wonderful. But now me actually experiencing it and going through from a class-based to a system-based school, I had the opportunity to see both ways of how my education can be shaped in both environments. And honestly, I prefer a system-based versus class-based system because class-based feels like it's more so for those that are career changers and trying to hurry up and get out of their degree. I definitely wanted to do this video on today, but before we get into the video, I have a quick commercial. For those of you who don't know, I have created my own millionaire journals. It's actually the relaunch of them because now they're in multiple colors and you will be seeing more things that God has placed in me throughout the year. This is basically an affirmation journal for people who want to write down their millionaire dreams, want to have some place to jot down whatever idea God has given them. I put it in all different colors and I want to make sure that it is something that looks cute, aesthetically pleasing. So definitely go ahead and purchase these. They are available on Amazon and I will link them in the description box. But enjoy the video. All right, now let's get into the video. What I want to say before we even get into I think I have like 10 different questions. Please go do your research. Before you go into an interview, do your own research. I didn't have as much knowledge as I needed about medical school. I didn't look up all of the things that pertain to medical school, such as the testing, such as how schools are set up. I didn't look at all of that stuff. I knew that I had a vision from the Lord, and I followed that vision, and it got me to where I am. I didn't have all of the 20,000 steps, 900 different mentors, and some people got all of that and still nowhere in the process. They just doing whatever and still not in medical school. I didn't have that. I just had the leading of the Lord and a vision that I'm going to go to medical school. Don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know I'm going to be a doctor of medicine. And here I am. I'm in medical school. I wouldn't say do it this way, but I would say follow the visions and the dreams that God has given you and what he's told you to do concerning your future. Any and everything that I put on this video, I would say go back to the Lord. Because just because it worked for me does not mean it's going to work for you. And the questions that I may have may not be the questions that you may need pertaining to what you're trying to do. So I want you guys to definitely follow what God is telling you to do before you decide to listen to anybody or what anybody has to say in any video. Number one, are the classes fully in class or are they online as well? So what I mean by fully in class is that my last school, they had recordings to where the recording was going on while class was going on, but you could not log in online. You had to be in class. You can only access it, or they only wanted you to access it after class was over. Now, what I can say is that the first school, I didn't like that setup because just in case you have an emergency or whatever the case is, you could not take off. It was 100% in class. Now, what I will say is that they have moved to 70% of attendance. At first, it was 100% attendance when I started because it was a pandemic and they were trying to basically put things back into place while we were starting school to see how things will work in this new normal that we were in. But the school that I'm at now, I have the ability to not even go to class at all. People don't even see me in class. And I feel like that works better for me because if it's a day where I don't want to go, I don't want to have the pressure of having 70% of being in class. What if I'm at 70% and then now within that 70% that I have left, because I've already used 30% of the time off, what if now my attendance level goes down? And that's a form of dismissal too. So they can dismiss you and write you up if you do not have the attendance that you should have at the time of leaving that semester. So one thing I learned too was reading that handbook, which I didn't think was something that was very important because I never had to read the handbook the whole time I've been in college. I've been in school since 2009. So why would I need to read a handbook when I was always following the guidelines and the rules? Well, going to Caribbean school, you can get kicked out real quick for something that you didn't even think you would be able to get kicked out for. So that is definitely something that you should look into when going to these schools because they're not going to tell you. It's not like they're going to sit in some meeting and be like, hey, let's go over the handbook for you. Let's go through everything that we think you should know in regards to how you shouldn't get kicked out of school, okay? And how this will lead to dismissal. You don't know you're about to be dismissed until you end up being dismissed. And then now you're trying to read all the guidelines because you never had to do that in the first place. So I would say if you want flexibility, definitely find a school or choose one that is 100% online and gives you the ability to be flexible to choose in class or at home. Number 2, do you have NBME exams or is it professor written exams? Now, what I would say with this, and if you don't know what NBME is, it's National Board Medical Examination. I would say with the NBMEs, my last school had NBMEs and people were still struggling. It's not like it was some magic tool that allowed them to pass these exams. Even though that is the exam, the people that are making the exams for like STEP and stuff like that, I wouldn't say it was some magic tool that everybody, because they had NBME, wow, this has allowed me to go to the next level real quick. No, because I still know people that have not went to the next level real quick and they left the school before I left. Even with me starting over, it's some people that still were not in, that still aren't in their clinicals. So I can't say that having NBME exams is like some magic tool. Even if the professors write it, you still got to go study on your own. You still have to go put in the work and find the tools necessary to help you with some things that you may be lacking in, that you fully didn't know while you were going throughout your preclinical classes. I can't say that it's a magic tool. So yes, you can ask, do you have NBME exams, which are basically the exams that will help you, that you want to test with when you are out of your preclinical phase. So you do want to test with NBME exam questions, but just because you are at a school that may be providing NBME questions does not mean that that's your straightway ticket and you about to pass step, first try, boom, all of that. No. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But I feel like by observation and seeing other people that went ahead of me and they still not in clinicals, that let me know everything I need to know. That it's based on what you put into it, because that's basically what medical school is. It's based on what you put into it, not what, oh, they provided me this tool, but how well are we using the tool? Is the tool being used well? Are the examinations being used well? Do I have enough information myself and understanding of what is being presented at school to do well on step 1 the first time? Yeah, they may be providing NBMEs, but how many NBMEs are you going to get throughout the semester? That's another question too. How many NBME examinations will be provided throughout the semester so that I can gauge whether I will be ready for step 1? Because now in my last 2 semesters, we have NBME exams at the beginning of the semester. We had one for the 3rd semester I just completed, and going to my 4th semester, we will have one at the beginning of the semester. Now throughout the semester, it will be professor written exams. So I would say definitely choose based on your preference. If you want a school that has NBME based exams, go right ahead. Do your thing. But I can't say that it's like the tool that is causing people to excel. The next question is, what is COMP? Well, they either call it COMP or CBSE, which is basically the Central Basic Secondary Examination. I believe that's what it's called. So this is an exam that you take that kind of mimics what step 1 is. And some schools, their percentage may be like 55%, 60%, 70%. I know ours is 70% at American University of Antigua. And they said the reason behind them having such a high percentage in passing this, which is where a lot of people get stumped at too. This is another exam where if you don't pass this exam, you're not sitting for STEP. So just know that you need to be prepared for the CBSE exam and you need to be prepared to pass step 1. So before you can even get to step 1, you got to pass this exam. So I would say start looking into ways to how you can prepare for these exams. Because just because you may be asked, like, what is the percentage? Just know everything is still on you. You still have to pass the exam yourself and make sure that you are prepared in the best way with tools that can help you with the exam. So that one, like I said, the question you ask is, what is the CBSE, which is for yourself. You don't have to ask the school that, but you need to ask the school, what is the percentage? And think about it, that's where you want to go with this percentage. But you can ask them as well, like, how will they prepare you for CBSE? What are they doing to prepare you? And even when you get there, these need to be questions you need to ask ahead of time before you get to STEP or before you get to CBSE. You want to have the information beforehand so you start preparing yourself beforehand, not when the time happens. All right, so the next question will be, how many times can I take STEP before dismissal? You can get dismissed if you don't pass that step in however many years. It could be 1 year, 2 years, 2 semesters, 3 semesters. If you don't pass the step at the time that they believe you should pass the step, you can get dismissed and you will have to start all over again. That's just how it goes in a Caribbean school. Now, I don't know about a U.S. school. You need to ask somebody that's attending U.S. school, because I didn't know that you can get dismissed if you don't take step in a certain amount of time until somebody mentioned it. Okay, good to know. The next thing would be, how do you support the student academics? That's the first part of the question. How are they supporting you? What tools do they have? The teachers, is there tutoring? My first school didn't have tutoring, but at this school, they have tutoring. You can go talk to teachers. They have people that you can communicate with that can go over the information with you that's not actually a part of the school. They have a whole system that you can log in and, talk to somebody about certain subjects that you may need help with, and you can set an appointment with them. You don't actually have to go to your professor. The next question is, how long can a leave of absence be before there is a dismissal? Now, you can't take off like 2-3 months, a whole year, and think that you just gonna hop back in and be in medical school. That isn't even realistic, especially by that time you would have forgotten everything that you should be learning, and it'll be harder for you as well. But what I do know is, I know someone that they left the school. I don't know how long they were on a leave of absence or whatever the case is, but the school changed their curriculum. So be mindful of that. If you take a leave of absence, just know that if the school changes their curriculum, they will make you start from the beginning. You have to start all over again. They don't care what semester you're in, because if it's a system-based school, you have to go based on the system and what is available at that time. So if when you started school, there was a different curriculum, and then they introduced a second curriculum, which is what happened in my school, they had a new curriculum when I started. And now they're changing to tri-semester. So that's going to change as well. So if you came in, or if you didn't pass as well, so I would say if you decide to take a leave of absence, this is one thing, and you come back and they change the curriculum, you're starting over. If you didn't pass the semester and they change the curriculum or change the structure of the school, you have to start over as well. No matter what semester you're in, you have to start over with what they are doing with the school culture, whatever is taking place. You have to start over with that. So be mindful of these leave of absences, because if the school change their curriculum, that's another way they're going to get you and your money all over again, and you got to start over. Be mindful. Just take that in consideration, that leave of absence, taking time off, curriculum, they can change it, and they will have you starting all over from the beginning. Next question is, what are my financial aid options? So before I started medical school, I was just going, and I really didn't think about, when being in the U.S., you have FAFSA all the way through. There is no private loan. You don't pass, now you're on a private loan. No, we didn't have any of that foolishness. It just wasn't. Now, I can say in my undergrad, in the summertime, they didn't have FAFSA. It was only throughout the spring and fall semester. So you had to either pay out of pocket or take out a private loan. But during the semester, it was paid for by FAFSA. Now, at my first school, I had a Sallie Mae loan. I didn't know, I never even had a Sally Mae loan. That was my first time ever having Sally Mae. And they tell you, don't go to no school that got a private loan, especially not Sally Mae. Don't do it. I don't care how good you may think the school is. If you don't have the money to pay for yourself, because you can only be on that loan for so long, and if you have to like retake classes and all this other stuff, they can take that loan away and say that you have to pay out of pocket, which is what happened to me in my first school. So now you sit in a situation to where you should never went to that school if you don't have money. If your parents don't have money, don't go, because we don't need situations where you're stressed out after the fact because you don't have the money to pay for school. Now you got to end up switching anyways, and now you're starting over from the beginning. So I would say only go to schools that are FAFSA based, that when you go to school, you can, that's it. There's FAFSA. That's all I need. But what I will say is at the Caribbean schools too, if you retake a class or if you fail a semester, they can take your FAFSA financial aid away as well. Your basically your federal aid. They can take your federal aid away if you end up failing a semester, and then once you pass the semester that you had to retake, and then they can initiate that loan again, or they can initiate your federal aid. But just know that if you don't pass the semester, they can take your FAFSA away. The next question is it pass or fail? Now, I've only been in schools where they have, or pass or fail or graded. I've only been in schools where it's graded. You have to have 70% or more to pass the semester. I wouldn't say either one is better or not, because you still have to do a certain amount of percentage with these classes and do well, whether it's pass or fail or graded. So you can't just be at medical school and performing horribly and thinking that you're going to pass the semester. It's still a standard that's in place. So I would say if the school is pass or fail and that's the school you end up going to, great. If the school is graded and that's the school you end up going to, okay, perfect. I wouldn't say that there's any benefit or any downside to it, because you still have to perform well. The next question would be, is it system-based or is it class-based? The majority of the questions that you can ask during an interview will be based on your research of the school. So before you research a school, you'll be able to get these questions to some of the questions that I'm providing today just by you researching the school yourself, which you should be doing before you even go into an interview. You should be researching the school. With a system-based, if you guys don't know what that means, is that you take all of the systems one by one. And within the system, you take the classes if it was class-based. If you go to a system-based school, or if you go to a class-based school and find yourself to where you have to switch institutions, just know if you're at a class-based school where it's all the classes separate and you switch to a system-based, they will not take into consideration all those classes you took, because it's a different type of curriculum, which happened to me as well. I could not go to American University of Antigua and take the class that I had with me, transfer them, because I was transferring to a system-based school, and the last school that I was at was a class-based. So if you ever need to switch a school, just know, not saying that is something you have to do, just know that if you have to switch a school, it would have to be from a system to another system. And just because you're switching from a system-based school to another system-based, the order of their classes can be different, and you still may have to end up starting from the beginning. Next question is, what is the schedule like? Are the classes in the daytime? Are the classes in the afternoon? Do we switch? So at the school that I'm at now, we had one semester where it was in the morning, which is my first semester at this school. And then the second semester came, and then I had classes 1 to 6, which was a whole switch in my schedule, because now in the morning time I had to figure out how to study, and then I have to figure out how to study after class when I'm used to winding down 1 to 6. So I feel like that was a big adjustment, but it gave us more time to study for the exams, because the majority of our quizzes were at 1 o'clock versus if I had a 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. class, my quizzes would be in the morning time. So I feel like it was better with that, but all exams were in the morning, regardless if you had morning classes or afternoon classes. They were always in the morning. Quizzes were the only thing that were in the afternoon. And of course, if you had ICM, that would be in the morning. If you had classes that were in the afternoon, and if you had classes that were in the morning, then your ICM would be in the afternoon. It would switch. I feel like that's not something that you can really control with taking those classes whatever time, because that's just how the school sets it up. You can't be like, hey, I want my class in the morning, unless they have schools that have that. This is why you research and you figure out on your own what you need as a student and what type of class you need, what you need to study for, how the structure of the school is. You need to see if it's a good fit for you. The next thing is, are there research opportunities at the school? Because one thing that I noticed was that they have all these research opportunities and grants and all this good stuff that's in the U.S. But if I apply for a U.S. Research opportunity, 9 times out of 10, I don't think I can get it because your school has to be based in the U.S. And this is what I didn't know. I was like, oh, wait, I wanted to do something at the Cancer Research Institute. I couldn't even apply because guess what? My school is not in the U.S. So I couldn't even do anything. I'm like, okay, but the school does have research opportunities. So you can definitely look into that. I'm not saying that don't go to a Caribbean school, because if that's where you got in, I would say go, but ask the Lord as well. Don't just go just to go. If you get into U.S. school, I would say go to U.S. school first. But definitely think about if you are a research person. I'm not a research person, so I really wasn't concerned. If you're a research person and you definitely want to have all the opportunities to do research wherever you would like to, U.S. is your get down. But if you are okay with the opportunities that, some of the schools may have, like my school, we still have research. It may not be on this large scale as the U.S., but there was still research that you could take within the U.S. and add it to your resume. The next question would be, are there any scholarships or grants at this institution, and how can I obtain them? Now, I would say for scholarships, my school does have scholarships. I think any school that you go to, they have scholarships that you can be on. Of course, you have to maintain your GPA, all the different requirements that are necessary in order for you to get a scholarship. Yes. Now, if you are in a Caribbean school and you want scholarships that's in the U.S. that aren't attached to like a institution, it's like some type of organization is giving them, you will not be able to get those scholarships, because there are many places that I've been wanting to apply to, and it says that my school has to be in the U.S. in order for me to get it. So just know that you're not going to be getting too many scholarships if your school is not based in the U.S. and you are at a Caribbean school, even though it's a U.S. institution. That's how they get you. Next thing is, can I do a dual degree? At my school, you can do a dual degree. They have like the program, I think it's like Walden University. That's if you want to. And then our schools also partner with Florida, FIU, I think it is, FIU, Florida International University. So our schools also partner with them, but I don't think that you can do a dual degree with that. But there are opportunities to do dual degrees. But if that's something that you want to do, ask the school beforehand, what do they have, so that you can know about it and not you get into the school. Just ask everything so that you can know for yourself. Because it may be a point in your education you want to get a dual degree and it's not offered with the school that you're at. Ask beforehand, because you need to be able to fit that in at some point inside of your degree, because you may take off time from studies for medical school to do your dual degree. So definitely ask the institutions if that's something that you are looking forward to. Also, how does financial aid work with that? If you have a dual degree, how does that work? How will they pay for your regular education and your degree, your second degree? The next question is, what social activities do you guys have for students to be involved? Now, when I had the storefront school, which was UMHS, basically it's a storefront, they didn't have, I wouldn't say they had like a lot of activities, but they did have organizations that the school had that were at the school. It was on a smaller scale because it wasn't like this super large university. Now at AUA, let me tell you, they have a lot of different activities that they have going on throughout the week, because it's a university. It's like the university feel if you were in the U.S. and you went to a university. That's basically how it is. So I love that. I love the idea of like the whole university feel, because that's where I came from, a university. I didn't come from a school that was like on a smaller scale. It was more so I was at a university-based institution. So if that's something that you're looking for, definitely choose a school that is more so like the university instead of a smaller school that is like a storefront. Okay, the next question would be diversity. Now, this is something that we can't control. Like, you can't control who the school accepts and how many of the individuals they accept. Even if you went to an HBCU, the whole class is not going to be black. That's just not what it is. It is based on the best applicants and whatever other factors they may have in place. But what I can say is that in my last school, it was not very diverse. I was a minority with minorities. And I was like, how crazy is that? That's crazy. because majority of the students were either from Puerto Rico, they were Dominican, they were Hispanic, they were speaking Spanish, majority of the class, and then looking at you like you crazy. And I'm not saying that like to bash them, but I'm saying from my experience, this is literally what we was going through. Every time even in class, it was like they were disrespectful to the professors. The professor telling them, they sending out emails, hey, you guys need to speak in English because this is the English-based school. Just because we have accepted you as a student does not mean every project we do, you need to be talking in Spanish for those that are in your group. However, they were using that as like their one method of communication. We're in anatomy class, and we could be in a group and they're talking in Spanish. If you're gonna teach, make sure you're teaching in English. I don't know how many emails were sent out over and over again about speaking in English, and I'm like, well, maybe y'all need to look in who y'all keep accepting at the school. Like, be for real. Be for real. Maybe you need to look at who you are accepting at the school, because if you want it to be a Spanish-based school, then okay, perfect. But if it's not that, then stop accepting so many people that altogether that's what the school gonna be. And now we feel like we're left out of our education, because that's what it's doing. It's creating another barrier to where we can't understand the way we need to and get the full benefit of our education that we're paying for, because we have students that are taking upon themselves to communicate in a language that is not the main language for the school. Now, you can talk outside of school, do all whatever you want to do. But when it comes to these classes and we're in class and we're in a learning environment, please speak in English. And I feel like that's the problem that we had everywhere we went. But this is just to give you the basis of why you do need a diverse school, because I can't be somewhere where I can't even enjoy my education like that. Like, I should be able to enjoy the activities. I should be able to enjoy leadership. I should be able to enjoy everything about the school, because they're representing in a way that everybody feels like they're included. Everybody feels like when I go to school, you know, and you may not feel like that everywhere. So then even with leadership, the roles that were in leadership, majority of them took over those roles, because I was in the leadership role when I had first got there. And after, I was like, I don't even care what they do. I don't care about none of this stuff. Because they're going to choose their friends. So more than likely, leadership looked like them. And leadership went based on what they wanted for their group of people and not what the whole school wanted. Because they were in the roles for president or vice president, you know, those rules that they have for student government. And I'm not going to say that it's good or bad. I'm just saying that when you are going to these schools, it will make a lot of people feel out of place, because why am I a minority with the minorities, but it don't feel like, you know, I have a say in anything still? Because you guys have selected a lot of people that are of their color or their background, and now I'm at a school that I don't even feel comfortable being in because of the choices that you made in regard to the admissions of the school. It should represent everybody. I should be able to get my money worth. I should be able to enjoy the activities just like everybody else here. And not saying that I didn't get like good relationships out of those and I met people. Not saying that. These people, they're cool people. You know what I mean? In conclusion, do not limit yourself to one school. Go choose and apply to all schools, because you just don't know. And I know that some people may have out the womb, like their parents taught them about schools and where you should go, and you just have a list of a school where you want to go. Absolutely follow that, because just because I followed a certain way does not mean that God is calling you to do that. He may have given you a school that you wanted to absolutely go to. Go to that school. Do that. Do what is in your heart to do. Choose those schools that you have always had a dream of going to, or whatever the case is. Apply to those schools. Make sure you know all the requirements, and definitely know what it is you need to know about the school in research. The main goal is to be a doctor. So any school, they got to teach the curriculum that will help you pass that step, that will help you become an efficient doctor. So any school you go to that is a medical school will be great, because the education is the same everywhere. Now, I can't say how the environment will be. I can't say about how they treat the students, but just know that any school is a school that is perfect for you. Wherever you get accepted, that's where you need to be at. And lastly, I would say ask the Lord for guidance on where you should go, where you should apply to. In everything you do, pray about it. Pray about the interview before you go to it. Pray after the interview. Pray about the questions you should ask. Pray about what school you should choose when they do accept you. Pray about it before you do it. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that this video was very beneficial for you, and then it gave you some insight into the questions that you should have. I will make a list below of what the questions were that I had listed in the video that you could take with you, meditate on, think about. But I hope that you guys have a successful year applying with this application season, and that God directs you to the school that gives you the best outcome in your ventures of being a doctor of medicine, that it pulls out every gift and every talent and everything that God has placed in you. I hope you find that school for you. So I hope this was great, and I look forward to the next video with you guys. Bye.